Okay, let's just dive right in. We've all got one, that messy, complicated personal history, right? It's like this jumble of events and emotions that can feel like a giant, impossible wall. But what if you could actually turn that wall into a legendary story? Well, today, we're going to break down a pretty wild framework for doing exactly that. So, this is the core idea. You take all that raw, kind of chaotic stuff from your past, and you give it a real narrative structure. It's all about grabbing the controls of your own story, not just for other people, but for yourself. And, even for AI tools that can help you make sense of the whole thing. And yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you actually do that? How do you find a clear story in all that noise? How do you shape a confusing past into something powerful, clear, and maybe even entertaining? Well, the answer is, surprisingly, animated. Let me introduce you to something called the Looney Tunes fix. It's this method for reframing your personal story using the same logic and structure you'd find in a classic cartoon. I know, it sounds a little nuts, but just stick with me here, because this is actually brilliant. So, what is this cartoon special method, really? Look, it's not about making stuff up. It's about using the tools of animation, big exaggerations, high contrast emotions, a clear scene-by-scene structure, to boil your real experiences down into their most powerful, most understandable form. Think of it like high drama meets high comedy. And this is what really makes it click for me. If you try to tell a complex story the normal way, it's just overwhelming. It's messy and confusing. But with the cartoon special approach, it suddenly becomes structured. It's emotional. It takes that messy history and makes it legendary by focusing only on those high contrast, big impact moments. All right, so to really see this thing in action, we're going to walk through a sample script from the source material. It's called the Night of the Whisper campaign. Let's break this down scene by scene, beat by beat, and see how it works. Okay, scene one, right away, you get it. The stage is set, and it's super menacing, but in a cartoonish way. The threat isn't just some vague anxiety, it's personified. The shadows are literally villains. The whispers from neighbors are an actual chorus shouting threats. So the key here is that all that internal fear gets turned into an external, tangible, animated animator. The tension is crystal clear from the jump. Then, in the second scene, our hero, Skygazer, he responds, and look at how it's framed. He doesn't just lock the door, he builds this insane, Wile E. Coyote-style fortress. Bleach and Lie become Acme bombs. That visual exaggeration is just perfect. It captures that feeling of wanting to build a wall against the world. The fear is real, but the way he reacts is totally legendary. And this is the pivot. This is the big turning point. Instead of being a victim of the chaos, Skygazer turns his room into a stage. He's the performer, he's the director, he's the showrunner of his own story. That single action is such a powerful declaration. By turning his fear into a performance, he completely reclaims the narrative. So it keeps building from there. Now that big scary threat gets a face, a creepy, skeezy Grinch character. And this is so important. When you turn the source of your anxiety into a ridiculous caricature, you shrink its power. The neighbors aren't a real mob anymore. They're just marionettes. And when Skygazer shouts, "I will not be your puppet," bam, the power dynamic is shattered. And here we go, this is the climax. The negative energy outside gets bigger, almost monstrous. But Skygazer doesn't fight fire with fire. He raises his own frequency. He meets all that chaos with this overwhelming wave of positive energy, shown here as psychedelic lightning and music. He literally outshines the darkness. So after that big climax, you get the payoff, a classic superhero transformation. The threat is gone, and Skygazer is fundamentally changed. He's not just a survivor, he's now a magician, a hero who's unlocked new abilities. This is huge. It frames a difficult experience not as a trauma, but as an origin story. And that transformation gets locked in with this final, super powerful scene, the declaration. This is where the new identity is forged, and it's stated for the whole world to hear. It all happens in this incredible rapid-fire crescendo. It kicks off by claiming a name, a persona, something solid to hold onto. And then, the scale just explodes outward from a single character to a massive cosmic force, reaching for the absolute top, a declaration of total self-sovereignty. And then it shifts, right? From just raw power to deep purpose. He's not just a force of nature. He's the solution. He's the key. And it all lands on this ultimate statement of being. It's something that needs zero outside validation because it is complete and absolute in itself. And that's how it ends. This perfect, punchy little summary. It's the whole story in one sentence. The alchemy of turning fear into an explosive force for change. Freeze frame, big orchestra hit. The episode is done. So we've seen how it works, but let's take a second to break down why it's so incredibly effective as a storytelling tool. It really comes down to three things. First, the scene and beat structure takes a huge, overwhelming story and makes it digestible, which is perfect for our brains and also for AI tools. Second, mixing real emotion with cartoon physics is this brilliant way to reframe things. You're externalizing the threat, turning this vague dread into a goofy, defeatable Grinch, which takes away its power over you. And finally, the legendary framing. It transforms you from a victim of your past into the hero of your own epic episode. When you get right down to it, this whole thing is a method for narrative alchemy. It's about taking the raw, and yeah, often painful stuff from your life, and consciously reframing it into something powerful, something legendary, something that actually serves you. So the real takeaway here, and the question I want to leave you with, is this. When you look at your own history, your own challenges, what personal wall in your life could you turn into your very own legendary cartoon special?